Good enough. What's up, guys? It's Jedi Ranger from his workshop, but not today.
I am the caffeinated shredder, and I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I like making noises with guitars.
Alright.
Okay.
And welcome back to Higher or Lower.
Yes.
And this week, amplifiers. Your amp.
I'm going to use my magic pockets here.
Amplifiers.
Frontman.
Frontman.
Frontman. I was trying to mash like 3 different amps together.
Alright, so we've got, I believe, 3 20-watt amplifiers, 3 different ones, from different manufacturers, each at a different price range. This is the cheapest, which was about $50-ish. This middle one is PV.
How much was it?
We got this for, I believe, $50 or $60
I think 50,
from a pawn shop, but these can go for way higher. But if you can find something like this at a pawn shop, that's a pretty good option.
I got this for a gift. This thing is pretty good. This is good. It can definitely get loud, but so if you go above 2, it's loud. Did you know that?
As in, like, cause an earthquake for your neighbors loud.
Yeah.
If you turn it up past 5, goodbye state.
Yeah.
It gets loud.
We live in a place where the tectonic plates, if there's an earthquake, you can't really feel it. We would feel it.
Yeah. All right. So
it's like
let's go over these 3 things.
$130.
This one cost me like 60. This one also cost about 60, but it was at a pawn shop, and these are usually more expensive. Well, for starters, this is the Rockville GM20. It is a 20-watt amplifier, and it is honestly pretty good. It's got built-in delay over here. Nope, over here. 1 gain, 1 volume, pretty easy. You got 3 EQ knobs. The delay is pretty decent, as well as, sorry, you can't see. There is a clean versus overdrive channel. There are 2 inputs and a headphone output. This also happens to be Bluetooth equipped. So, pretty good deal. Pretty good deal for $60.
That felt like something straight out of Hot Shots, like how there's always something going on in the background that's kind of irrelevant, but also the best part of the movie.
Speaking of irrelevancy, here's our next amplifier.
Wow!
This is on my camp. Yep. Or kind of. I believe this is actually supposed to be a PA system. So you have 3 inputs technically, and you also have 1 output. I'm not sure what that's for. You have 2 EQ knobs and 2 separate volumes, or I guess gain settings, not volumes. There's not really a master volume here, which is kind of annoying.
I need a thicker mustache.
You have 2 mic inputs and 1 auxiliary or instrument input. And this costs us $60, but how much do these usually go for, you think?
Oh, so I looked it up the day we got it. It's like, Aiden said it was a steal, and I'm curious to see how much of a steal it was.
It was a steal.
It was about $100 worth of steal, and that was like off of eBay for a used one.
Mm-hmm.
For ones that you would find at like Guitar Center, you'd probably find for more than $250 easily.
So yeah, everybody, this is your chance. Check your pawn shops, check your antique stores, check anywhere where there might be either a vintage amplifier or one from the 80s or one from the 90s, stuff that people just want to get rid of and just don't use. I got a pretty decent death metal pedal from a pawn shop for like $50, even though they go for like $250 right now. And yeah, let's get to the last one. Opens briefcase.
Hands, money, chat.
All yours.
Thank you, sir. Nice doing business.
Well, this is your amplifier. I'm gonna let you talk about it.
Okay, has 1 output, which is okay with me because I'm only 1 person.
1 input, not 1 output. Thanks.
That one. It has 2 different volume. That's a gain. It has 2 different volumes. 1 for drive, 1 for normal volume, for clean sound. Then you have, I think that says treble. Then you have
3 EQ knobs instead of the 2 on the PV, which is a good upgrade.
Mm-hmm. and then it has the gain right here, which is kind of obvious. And it has the on button, and then you have
Two
auxiliary and
Auxiliary output
headphone.
and a headphone input. The other thing is this one also has an easy toggle for overdrive,
And it comes with its own power source. But it's
which
on
is
the-
really annoying because it is separate.
I kind of like it like that though.
I don't.
Makes it easier to carry.
The first thing, power supply. This one's wired, like hardwired in here. I'll let you see here. It's hardwired in. There's no weird adapter. This, the PV, takes a fairly standard negative ground, positive tip, like AC adapter style for this. And as for his, it comes with one of these.
We don't even know what to call it, so it literally just goes in the back of it.
It's a 3-prong polarized thingy, I guess. I don't know.
It won't come out.
Well,
There we go.
I don't know.
Got it.
Well, we've talked about this for about 10 minutes now, so let's actually hear the differences. Ready? Rock, paper, scissors, paper. He won, so I guess he gets to play. Sucker!
Let's
So,
stop this.
now that that's over with, I'm going to explain how we're going to do this test. So, all of these amplifiers, except one, the PV, is...
Have a drive.
Correct. It has a drive button, so you can switch between a clean channel and an overdrive channel like that. But they all sound different. Liam's, or should I say the Caffeinated Shredder's, gain channel sounds a lot different compared to mine and the Rockville one. So,
Bless you.
So, the way we have to fix this is with a pedal. The pedal we're going to be using is super cheap. Why? Because all of these amplifiers are fairly cheap. This is the US Dream pedal from Accolot on Amazon. We have it set to a pretty high distortion level, medium tone, and a fairly low volume. The other thing we're going to do is to keep the guitar the same, we will be using Liam's Phantomin. We're going to use this because the other thing we need to do in order to make sure this is fair is set the EQ levels. So everything is going to be at about half. With one exception, the Fender frontman has a slight problem with being very middly. It can't make decisions. No. The mids on his amplifier are, how do I put this, awful. It sounds kind of like this. Kind of like this-ish. It sounds cheap and awful.
Almost exactly like that.
So, the mid setting on his amplifier is going to be at about 2 instead of at about 5, because it's just a very mid, like, heavy amplifier. The other ones are going to be set straight at 5 for both the PV, which doesn't have a mid setting, and the Rockville amp, which does have a mid setting. The amp you're hearing currently is the Rockville, the one that costs $60 off of Amazon. So just play a couple chords in clean, and then I'll turn your distortion on.
I'm indecisive, just like my amplifier, so it's my fun, and I'm annoyed by myself.
Anyway, let's play with the flange sound. Why not? I'm kidding. We don't have time for that. So, let's give it some drive. Alright, well that's the Rockville... Sorry, I have to... Here. Alright, well that's the Rockville amplifier.
Plus the pedal.
Plus the pedal. Keep in mind though that he's not great, but he's better than me when it comes to consistency.
Consistency, I can't count that as ABC.
The other thing is, you got to remember, this is going through an iPhone microphone, which sounds awful.
Especially when it's been through all that I've put it through. I almost left it in a different state one time, and that's about halfway across America.
Yep. So we're gonna just...
I dropped it by an alligator, but I forgot it. But that alligator was actually a bike rack. I wish my abs.
Alright. Let's switch amplifiers. Okay, so we switched the amplifiers. We're now onto the PV. One other quick thing. We had to adjust the PV settings because it doesn't have a volume knob. We had to turn the gain down a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit different than we intended, but it's just going to have to do. It really won't change our perspective on it. Just, okay, well it will, but just a little bit. The sound isn't going to change much. I'll stop talking. Go ahead. Just make it quick. Go, go, go. Blowing up our neighbors. So
They're gonna hurt me.
it'll be fine.
That's a joke. Take it, jokely.
Alright. Look up the camera. It's fine. So the PV is not great. Or is it? Because once you configure these settings, we'll tell you now, this PV actually sounds really good, especially with a flanger. Wouldn't you agree?
I know I'm not the person to speak with clean, but it works for me. I enjoy it.
He does like this clean, for whatever reason.
It's because it's noisy.
Get it. Alright, let's move on to the last one. Alright, this is the last amplifier, his 20G. So the quick thing, the mids are at 2, and it's still really middly, right? Well, you know what, it also would help if...
I'm gonna play a song for you guys.
Now for the actual distortion test.
Too loud.
Yep, I'm gonna turn that down.
So this one has some growl to it.
Well, we'll see you guys in the outro. Let's compare these. They're apples, right? So, let's compare them. Apples to apples. To apples, because there's 3.
Apples.
Alright guys, well, time for the overview. First thing of note, the Rockville. I would say that it sounds pretty okay for being $60. How about you?
I agree. It's definitely built for people that aren't me, but if once you have pedals and if you can figure it right, it's built for anyone.
I would say that's a pretty good thing. Same actually can be said for the Fender Frontman 20G, just because it's effectively the exact same thing. You got to remember that the Fender one, though, is a Fender amplifier, and the Rockville one is a Rockville amplifier. Both are very actually good brands. I do trust Rockville right about as much as I trust Fender, but Fender's name is the price you pay. If you want a Fender amplifier, you're gonna get a Fender amplifier, which is why they come at such a cost. But if you don't want to spend 100 and whatever, $150 on an amplifier, thing about these two in particular, portability. This is a lot thinner, although it is taller. It is a lot thinner than the Frontman.
Mine weighs
and a lot lighter.
Mine weighs about 8 pounds, I think. No, that's light. It's lighter.
I'd say probably about 6.
Yeah.
It's about as much as a pretty solid guitar.
Whereas his is about 4.5, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say 4.5. A pretty good guess. Both are honestly pretty okay amplifiers. I would probably gig like a small venue with one of these two. The PV, on the other hand, needs a little bit of work. The problem with the PV is it's lackluster and it's not meant to be a guitar amp, because it's not. But the main thing about the PV is it isn't supposed to be a guitar amplifier, but you can use it as one. So because of that, it's not going to sound like, you know, the Rockville one with the really nice overdrive, like natural overdrive, or the Fender with the built-in like full-on distortion without pedals. Gotta pick and choose with your money. So for best bang for your buck, which of these 3?
I would say probably Rockville.
So for the money, absolutely Rockville
$60.
amplifiers. Yes, $60. That's half the price of the Fender, and it sounds basically the same. Downside to this, of course, is, I mean, you don't get the brand name, sure. Another thing, the Frontman doesn't have Bluetooth. This one has Bluetooth. And it's lighter.
Quit being me the Fender.
It's Fender's fault.
Oh.
No. I don't have anything against Fender, as you could probably tell, but Fender amps are expensive. If you are like me, or even him, his first guitar cost us what, like $130, and it's like a full kit. It came with guitar, strings sucked, and everything for 130 some bucks. This is a good amp for $60. I would buy this any day. Maybe not every day, but any day.
Every day you have a new Rockville amplifier. It's the same one every day. So
Best overall, Fender. Duh. Like, I mean, come on. It's a Fender. Their quality control is the top of the line. The only thing is, it comes at a cost. The Fender amplifiers are ridiculously expensive for what they are. It's a bunch of capacitors and like transistors and stuff, and some pots. $130 for this?
I think so.
That's as much as his first guitar. This is worth as much as his Strat. And it's an amplifier alone. And the best price, because it doesn't really win in any other things, goes to the PV. and not necessarily to this PV, but to any really pawn shop amplifier that you can get to work. You gotta remember to test these first. Pawn shop amplifiers are great, but only if they work. And it doesn't have to be a guitar amplifier. It could be a bass amplifier. It'll still work. It could be a mic amplifier. Like, any kind of amplifier will do. It's just gonna take a little bit of work.